Welcome students, welcome to lecture number 2 of subject indirect taxation, where we'll be continuing with module number 1. So as already explained in the lecture number 1, what all are the contents of module number 1, that is GST Act and Rules, need for GST in India, dual GST model, which we have already covered under lecture number 1. So moving ahead, today we will be covering the remaining part, that is CGST Act 2017, SGST Act, UTGST Act 2017, IGST Act, Goods and Service Tax Network. What do you mean by this? GST Council guiding principle and functions of GST Council. So before moving ahead to the different acts, that is CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST Act, before moving ahead with that, let us know that GST is levied on the supply of goods and services, as already explained in the lecture number 1. Now, what do you mean by goods and what do you mean by services? Because once if you are able to identify that a particular transaction is either a transaction in goods or transaction in service and there is a supply, then you are supposed to charge GST. For that, it is very important that you will understand what is the meaning of goods and what is the meaning of services. So let us see what is the meaning of goods. Goods is nothing but goods include every kind of movable property. It is also includes actionable claims. Now, what is movable property? You all know that can be mobile from one place to another. Now, what are actionable claims? Actionable claims, as you all know, is a claim to any debt which is not a secured debt. Okay, like you usually when you take a loan from the bank, you secure your the bank gives you a loan provided you give a security to the bank. But actionable claim means there is some claim which is not backed up with any security or any mortgage. So you that by that we mean it as actionable claim. So for example, for actionable claim can be lottery tickets. So when you win the lottery, you have a claim towards the lottery amount, correct? But this claim is not you do not buy a lottery ticket by keeping some security, by mortgaging some asset of yours, right? So uh, GST is on goods, and goods includes actionable claims as well. Goods, and the definition of goods, it is also covers growing crops, grass, things attached or to forming part of land which is agreed to be served before the supply or under the contract of supply. So even growing crops, grass which is attached to the earth, which is attached to the land, and if there is a contract to supply this also comes and falls under the definition of goods. But students, good does not include money and securities. So if I'm giving money to XYZ person, this transaction of money will not be treated as goods, and if it is not goods, GST will not be applicable, because GST is only applicable on goods and services provided there is a supply. Now coming to services. What is the meaning of services? Services means anything other than goods or money. So obviously, other than goods, whatever is it, it is services, but does not include money as well, and securities. So goods, services means anything other than goods, money, and securities, but includes activities relating to use of money. Students, pay attention. It includes activities relating to the use of money or its conversion by cash or any other mode from one form to another, currency or denomination to another form, currency or denomination for which a separate consideration is being charged. So what exactly we mean by this? We know that services and goods will never include money or securities, but it includes activities relating to conversion of money. So let me give you an example for this. Suppose if you'll go to a bank, you'll want to remove a demand draft, DD. So you'll go to a bank and you deposit cash. So against that cash, the banker will give you a demand draft, correct? So this transaction is a transaction of money, so it will not be subject to GST. But if the banker charges any commission on making the demand draft, if the banker is charging any commission for creating a DD, for making a DD, then this commission is nothing but a consideration, and this DD is nothing but a this commission is nothing but a conversion charge to convert your cash into your DD. So such conversion charges where a consideration is being given, that will be liable to GST. So students, I hope you'll have understood that what are goods, what is the meaning of goods, and what is the meaning of services. So once you know that a particular transaction is involving goods, involving services, falling within the definition, and if there is a supply, then obviously GST will be applicable. So students, is this slide clear to you all? Yes, students? Okay. Now, we know that there are 5,000 plus goods in the entire world. We know they are hell out of services that have been provided. There are n number of goods and n number of services that are being delivered, that are being given. So how do you classify these goods and services? For example, just let me tell you all that suppose if you are doing an international trade of books, suppose if you want to export books from India to an XYZ country. So in India, the books is named as books, but suppose in China, the books may not be named as book, they may be calling it in some other language. So how do you classify the goods and services on an international ground so that everyone identifies, okay, this is the same product that is being exported? So for that, GST has made certain classification. So let us see the classification of goods and services. So classification is nothing but just a unique identity that is provided to the goods and a unique identity that is provided to services. Before I start with the classification, just let me tell you all that each student is given a separate roll number. Each student is given a separate USN number. Can anyone tell why each student is given a USN number? So that every student is uniquely identified by the university, right? Suppose if there are two students of the name Pooja, they might get confused. So each student is given a separate USN so that they are uniquely identified, correct? Similarly, in GST, every goods and every services is given a code in order to uniquely identify that particular product or that particular service, not only on domestic grounds, but also on international grounds in case of imports or exports. So students, in respect of goods, there is something called as HSN. And in respect of services, the code given is SAC. So what is HSN? HSN stands for Harmonized System of Nomenclature. So HSN is nothing but a 6-digit code which is classifying the products, okay, which are accepted worldwide. And this code was being developed by the World Customs Organization. And SAC is a classification code that is given for services. So SAC code stands for Service Accounting Code. So I'll just read out this. HSN code stands for Harmonized System of Nomenclature. This system has been introduced for systematic classification of goods all over the world. HSN code is a 6-digit uniform code that classifies 5,000 plus products and is accepted worldwide. It was developed by the World Customs Organization and it came into effect from 1988. But let us see how this HSN was being adopted in India. Now, India is a member of World Customs Organization since 1971, and HSN is usually a 6-digit HSN code. To classify what? To classify the goods and services. But in India, later the Customs and Central Excise added 2 more digits to make the code more precise, resulting in an 8-digit classification. So any product in India is given an HSN code which is mandatory under GST, students. Under GST, when you're going to upload your monthly returns, you'll suppose if you're a dealer dealing in the trading of furniture, So when you're going to upload the number of furnitures that you have sold in a particular month, you have to upload it depending upon the HSN that it has. So the uploading also depends upon the HSN. So every product is given a separate unique code based on which the uploading of the returns takes place. And in case of SSC, it is nothing but services are classified uniformly for the recognition, measurement, and taxation. Codes for services are called as service accounting code. So students, is this clear? Under GST, there are two types of code. HSN, which is given for all the products, goods, and SSC is a code which is given for all the services. So based on HSN and SAC, you can find out the rate of GST applicable to a particular product or service. So just let me practical, this is all theoretical what I've explained you all. Just let me practically show you all how you all can get to know the HSN of any particular product or SSC of a particular product. And once you all know the HSN or SSC, how you all can identify what is the rate applicable to the particular product or services. So students, there is everyone can see the screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there is an official site of government where government has given the HSN and SAC code for each and every product and services on which GST is applicable. And along with the HSN and SAC code, it has also given the rates applicable to that particular goods or services. Now, how do we find out? How do we find out that? So simply you have to go to this site, that is CBIC. CBIC is nothing but Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs -gst.gov.in. This is a practical aspect. It is not in your book, students. Just for you all to understand better, I'm showing you all this. So just go to this site. Once you all go to this site, you will get a tab of services where you all can go to sub part, that is GST rates. Just click on GST rates. After that, you all will get a particular page will open where you can see goods are classified separately and services are classified separately. Now first let us see some example of goods. Now what you can see on the left hand side, you can see this chapter, heading, subheading, tariff item. This is nothing but this is your HSN, students. Your HSN is an 8-digit code, right? So the first 2 digits specify the chapter from which they have taken, the next 2 digits specify the heading, the remaining 2 digits specify the subheading, and the remaining last 2 items specify the tariff item. So suppose the description of goods, I take it as chalk. Now if you all want to know what is the HSN for chalk and what is the rate of GST to be charged on chalk, just type here that particular item, because you all will not know the HSN for that. So you can write the name of that particular product or goods. So you'll have written chalk and just click on enter. So it will give you that the HSN for chalk is 2509 and the rate applicable is 5% if the sale is taking place in interstate, and it is 2.5% CGST and 2.5% HGST if the sale is taking place within the state. So chalk, you have again different definitions. Suppose if it's slate pencils and chalk sticks, then what is the HSN and what is the rate? The rate is 0%. So students, this is HSN, and based on HSN, you can find out the rates for any product in the official site of the government. This is the official site of government. So if you come across any of your clients future and they ask you, I'm dealing in a particular product, can you tell me what is the GST rate applicable? So you simply need to visit the site and you will get to know. Suppose it is furniture. Okay. So I just enter. You will get different types of furnitures. Their HSN code is there on the left hand side, and the rate applicable to that particular sale of furniture is there towards your right hand side. So depending whether it is interstate or intrastate, you will take the rates. So depending upon the type of business that particular vendor is doing, like if it is furniture wholly made of bamboo, cane, or rattan, then it is 12%. Then depending upon different types of furniture dealers, different types of rates are applicable. So this is an official site where you yourself can directly find out what is the HSN and what is the rate applicable. This was just for your knowledge, students, which I just wanted to practically show you all. Now similarly, if we go to services, services will have SAC, that is service accounting code. So if I take services of entertainment, like yesterday we saw that entertainment tax is being subsumed under GST. Let us see in case of entertainment. So see here, services by the way of admission to entertainment events, like tickets. I mean to say services, what tickets you purchase in order to get some entertainment, like to go to an amusement park or to casinos, or if you want to take part in any event such as IPL, Indian Premier League. So the HSN here is 996, and the rate applicable, the GST rate applicable is 28%. If it is interested on within the state, it is 14 and 14%. So students, I hope you all have understood what what is the meaning of HSN, what is the meaning of SSC, and how do we identify what is the rate applicable to that particular products or services. So this was just for your practical knowledge. So students, is this particular slide clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let us move ahead. Now let us go to the GST Acts. So yesterday in my yesterday's class, we seen that there are different components of GST. We had seen that there is different components include CGST, SGST, UTGST, and IGST. So likewise, yesterday I already explained that CGST and SGST will be applicable when there is intra-state sale of goods or services. So intra-state means within the state. So if there is any sale within the state, we apply CGST and SGST. Similarly, if any sale is taking place within the union territory. Now union territory total, there are 8 union territories in India, out of which 2 are with legislatures and remaining 6 are without legislatures. So UTGST you will apply only in those union territories which are without legislatures. And next is IGST, which is applicable only and only if the supply of goods and services is taking place in interstate, that is different states. So now let us understand these acts. See, in order to charge CGST on interstate goods and services, on intrastate goods and services, there is a legislation that is created, and that legislation is nothing but this CGST Act 2017, which governs the levy of CGST. Okay, and this CGST Act is applicable to whole of India. Now we know that CGST is levied and collected only by the central government. Whatever amount of tax is collected under CGST, it has been collected by the central government. And which act is legislating it? The act is CGST Act 2017. Now it is applicable to whole of India. Now what do you mean by India? What is the definition of India? So what all India includes? Obviously India includes the territories of India, that is defined in the constitution. Then its territorial waters, not only the borders of India, not only the territories of India, but also the territorial waters. Then the seabed below the territorial waters, continental shelf, exclusive economic zone. Okay, and apart from that, the airspace above the territory and territorial water. So not only the ground level or not only the sea level, apart from that, the airspace which is there above the territory and territorial waters is also covered under the definition of India. And if the sale takes place within the same state, then the CGST Act, according to CGST Act, the CGST is to be levied or is applicable. Now students, the maximum CGST rate which is to be applied cannot exceed 20%. So the maximum rate is only 20% that can be charged under the CGST Act 2017 to all the transactions on which CGST tax is to be collected. Next is SGST Act 2017. So students, can you all tell me how many states does India have? Students, am I audible? Okay, let me tell you all. India has, am I audible first? Students?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay, so India has total 28 states and 8 union territories. Now you know what is union territory, as I've already explained yesterday. So union territories, they are further divided into union territories with legislation and without legislature. Now Delhi and Puducherry are two such union territories which are with legislatures. Okay, so CGST Act 2017 is applicable to all the states with state legislations, including Delhi and Puducherry, because they have their own state legislations. Now, whatever CGST tax has been collected, it has been collected by that respective state government having state legislatures. So students, this CGST Act is applicable on every state on the intra sale of goods and services, that is within the state. If the goods and services have been supplied, you charge CGST under which act? It is nothing but the SGST Act 2017. So it is on all those 28 states. Apart from that, also it is applicable in union territories like Delhi and Puducherry, which has its own legislatures. Moving ahead to UTGST Act 2017, UTGST Act is nothing but Union Territory Goods and Service Tax, and this tax is applicable only and only if there is a supply of goods and services taking place within the Union Territory. Now, this union, totally there are 8 union territories, out of which 2 are with legislation, so they are falling under which act? SGST Act. And without legislations are going to fall under UTGST Act. So can you all tell me the union territories? So suppose if there is a sale or supply of goods or services happening in Chandigarh. So there's a customer in Chandigarh, likewise a service provider also is in Chandigarh, then he's going to charge in his invoice CGST and UTGST, because Chandigarh is a union territory. So you need to be aware of what are the union territories in India. So the Union Territory Goods and Service Tax Act is applicable or is applied to union territories, namely such as Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Diu Daman, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Ladakh. Ladakh is added as a union territory in October 2019. So if any sale is taking place in these union territories, so you're going to charge UTGST and not SGST. SGST is only in those 28 states plus this Delhi and Puducherry, which are having their own state legislatures. Next, moving ahead to IGST. So under this act, we know that IGST is levied and collected on all the interstate transaction of goods and services, correct? And the amount of IGST goes to the central government, which we already know. IGST is nothing but it is a tax which is a consolidation of CGST and SGST. So students, I just want to tell you all that the and again IGST is applicable to whole of India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So in short, if I summarize this, there is only one act legislation for CGST, that is Central Goods and Service Tax Act. For SGST Act, there are totally 28 plus 2, that is 28, 29, 30. Totally, there are 30 SGST Acts. Depending on different state, there is a different act. For Karnataka state, there is a different Karnataka Goods and Service Tax Act. For Maharashtra state, there is Maharashtra Goods and Service Tax Act. So totally 30 state Goods and Service Tax Act is applicable. For UTGST, again, there are 6. For IGST, there is only one act that is regulating or legislating the entire interstate supply of goods and services. So students, are you all, did you all understand this particular slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, students? Okay. So moving ahead. Next, we are coming to a concept of GSTN. Now, what is GSTN? It is nothing but Goods and Service Tax Network. Now, what do you mean by Goods and Service Tax Network? See, students, as I told you, GST has subsumed so many of taxes, has replaced so many of taxes. Now, in order to get registered under GST, or in order to file returns under GST, or in order to make payments of GST, there has to be certain interface between the user and the government, correct? Because how will you make the payments to the government? How will you file the returns to the government? How will you register yourself under GST with the government? So for that, GSTN is being developed. So GSTN is nothing but a network which will help you interface with the government. So let us see. So GSTN is a software which has been developed by Infosys. And Goods and Service Tax Network is a non-profit organization formed for creating a sophisticated network accessible to the stakeholders, government, taxpayers to access information from a single source. So GSTN is a single source from which all the activities relating to GST are being carried out. So there is no multiple websites in which you have to go for registration separately, for payment separately, for return separately. All the activities of GSTN is done under a single roof, under a single website, and that is nothing but Goods and Service Tax Network. The portal is accessible to the tax authorities for tracking down every transaction, while taxpayers have the ability of connect for their tax returns. So as I told you, it is a single network, not only for the taxpayers, but also the tax authorities. That whether a particular taxpayer has make the payment of GST in time or no, he has to go to the same portal to make the checking. So the government has created only one network for the entire GST activities. So the common portal is nothing but a website. So the common GST electronic portal is nothing but www.gst.gov.in. It is a website managed by Goods and Service Tax Network. It has been set up by the government to establish a uniform interface for the taxpayer and a common and shared IT infrastructure between the center and the states. The GST portal is accessible over the internet. So if you want to access this particular website, you require internet facility by the taxpayers and CAs or advocates, and intranet by the tax officials. So if the tax officials want to visit this site, it can happen through intranet. The portal is one single common portal for all GST related services. No matter what service you want in respect of GST, it can happen through a common portal by visiting www.gst.gov.in. So GSTN network. So primarily GSTN provides 3 front-end services to the taxpayers, namely the registration facility, payment, returns, which can happen through GST common portal. So it looks something like this. So again, practically, I want to take you all to this particular website just for your practical knowledge, so you'll understand the theory better. So let us go. So again, you all just need to type here www.gst.gov.in. So this is the common portal which I was talking about just now in my previous slides, that this is the common portal. This portal will cater to all your GST related activities. So if you see under services, it is giving you, if you want to apply for GST registration, you can directly go to services here, where registration, and apply for new registration. If you want to make payments under GST, you can directly make the payments here by creating a challan. Next, if you want to find your HSN code, suppose if you're unable to find your HSN code, you can also, apart from the CBIC site which I showed you can even search by your HSN code. Apart from that, if you want to apply for refunds, and the different facilities are also available, which we will be covering in our succeeding lectures. Next, if you all know the GSTN number of a particular vendor, you can search the taxpayer's information by his GSTN number as well. So all these facilities I will be showing you all practically also, as and how we move ahead with the modules. So once if you have registered under GST, there is a separate, in unit number 2 or 3, there is, unit number 2, you all have registration, where I will be showing you all practically also how to register under GST. So once if you all have your GSTN number, you can log in. This login is possible only after you have registered under GST. So all these facilities I will be showing you all as and when we go through the modules. So students, have you all understood this GST network? What is GSTN?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Let us move ahead. Now, what is the functions of the GSTN? Now, already I've explained you all what is the functions of GSTN. Under GSTN, you can do everything. You can do registration, you can do payment, you can claim your refund, you can check information about your details about your businesses, others businesses. You can even check your credit, that is input credit, that is available. So let us just see. It helps in facilitating the registration, forwarding the returns to central and state authorities. Suppose if you want to submit a return, again with the help of GSTN website, you're going to furnish your returns. This return goes to whom? Central and state tax authorities. Then computation and settlement of IGST also takes place. This facility is also available under GSTN. The matching of tax payment details with the banking network. Once you all have made the payment, you have created a challan under GSTN network, you can also cross-check with your bank with the help of GSTN. Then it providing various MIS report to the central and state government based on taxpayers' return information. So as I already told you all in my previous lecture, that GSTN is very transparent. None of the information of any supplier or vendor can be hidden. So it provides a detailed MIS report to the central and state government based on the returns that you are filing. It provides analysis of taxpayers' profile. As I just told you all, that you can search any, if you all know the GSTN number of any particular vendor, you can search directly his entire business information by just visiting this site. Running the matching engine for matching reversal reclaim of input tax credit. So the supplier also has to upload, the vendor also will upload. So there will be a matching engine which will automatically match what is the correct input tax credit you are eligible for. This again in detail, students, we will be dealing in module number 3, where in detail I will be explaining you all this matching engine. So students, have you all understood prima facie what are the functions of GSTN? Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is GST Council. Now, what is this GST Council? GST Council is an apex member committee to modify, reconcile, or to procure any law or regulation based on the contest of goods and service tax in India. So before I just explain the entire slide, just let me give you all a little brief. Let me brief you a little about GST Council. See, students, in order to run the GST activities, like in order to take decisions regarding what are the goods and services should be covered under GST, what should be the rates that should be charged on the goods and services, should the rates be changed or should the rates remain the same, should there be an exemption given on certain goods and services, all these decisions are made by a council, and the council is nothing but the GST council, which has been formed. This council is formed, and the work of this council is only and only to cater all the disputes, all the services, all the activities relating to GST. Next, the council has been headed by the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, assisted with the Finance Minister of all the states of India. The GST Council is responsible for any revision or enactment of rule or any rate change of goods and services in India. Frequently, we come across news, students, that the rate of a particular product has been dropped down. The rate of a particular product has gone high in respect of GST. Correct. So who takes this decision? So now you all should be aware that these decision of rate changes and all, or any other change in respect of GST, is taken by the GST Council. And GST Council is a council which is set up by 33 members. And the head of this council is nothing but the Union Finance Minister, and Finance Minister of each state also are the member of these councils. So GST Council is the governing body of GST, which is having 33 members, out of which 2 members are of central and 31 members are from 28 states and 3 union territories with legislation. The council contains the following members. There is Union Finance Minister as chairperson, as I already told you all. There is Union Minister of States in charge of revenue or finance. So it is either the Finance Minister or Revenue Minister of each state as a member again of the council, and the ministers of state in charge of finance or taxation, or any other minister as nominated by each state government. So all these people are forming the GST Council, and this GST Council is responsible for all the changes made in GST. All the decisions made in GST can be taken by only this GST Council. Next, what is the functions of GST Council? As I've already explained you all, but just going through this, the function of GST Council is to make recommendations to the Union and states on important issues like if there is tax rates, any tax rate to be introduced, changed, exemptions, threshold limits, dispute resolution, etc. Next, it shall also recommend the date on which GST be levied on petroleum, crude oil, high-speed diesel, petrol, spirit, natural gas, aviation, turbine fuel. Students, I just forgot to tell you all one thing, that GST, as I told you, is applicable on all the goods and services, exception few. So there are certain items which are outside the scope of GST, or there are certain items on which GST is not applicable, and that items are alcohol for human consumption, and the 5 petroleum products that you can see here: crude oil, petrol, diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, and aviation turbine fuel. So on these products, still there is no GST applicable. So the GST Council is having the right to also recommend one particular date from which GST will be applicable on all these products. So this date from when the GST should be applicable on all these products will be again decided by only GST Council. So every decision of GST Council is taken by majority of not less than 3/4 of the weighted votes of the members present and voting. Vote of the center has a weightage of 1/3 of total votes cast, and votes of all the state governments taken together has a weightage of 2/3 of the total vote cast in that meeting. So just remember, students, that the GST Council, whatever decision has been taken, since there are 33 members, every member will not be having the same perception. So every decision is taken based on voting, based on the number of members present in the meeting. So voting is done based on the weightage of voting. A decision has been taken by the GST Council, which is further been delivered to the particular state or center. So students, is this clear? What are the functions of GST Council? Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in short, each and everything relating to GST, whatever disputes, whatever any confusion relating the returns, threshold limits, exemptions, tax rates, HS and SSE code, whatever decision, it is taken only by the GST Council. So by this, we have completed module number 1, which is only theory. So thank you so much, students. Any doubt relating to this particular module, you all can let me know. This module is complete theory. I'll be passing on the notes to you all. Even after going through the notes, if you all feel you all are not understood a particular concept, you all can get back to me. I will re-explain it. So students, are you all there?
Yes,
Students, yeah, because since it's an afternoon session
Yes,
after lunch, so I hope half of you all have not slept. So can I ask you all certain questions based on? Can I ask you all certain questions based on today's lecture?
Ma'am, I
Okay,
have a
ma'am.
doubt.
Yeah, you can tell me a doubt first.
Ma'am, a slight difference between a CGST and IGST, ma'am. Because both have to find out.
I didn't get you. What is your question?
Ma'am, CGST and IGST difference, ma'am.
Okay, yeah.
So both the taxes have to pay as a central government.
Okay, I'll just tell you. CGST will be applicable only and only if the sale is happening within the state. But if the sale is happening outside the state, IGST will be applicable. I'll just give you an example, Padmaja. Suppose I'm from Karnataka, I'm from Belgaum, and I'm selling the goods to Bangalore. So when I'm selling the goods to Bangalore, when I prepare my bill, I will charge CGST and SGST. Correct? Now, I'll go back here. I'll just show you. See, students. Suppose there is an entertainment service that I'm providing. What is the total tax GST applicable on entertainment service? It is 28%, right? Okay. Now, suppose if I'm providing entertainment service from Belgaum and to the public in Belgaum itself, I am going to charge 14% CGST and 14% SGST. 14 plus 14 comes to 28 only, but the total GST rate will be divided 50% to CGST, 50% to SGST when sale is taking place within the state, students. Complete 28% center will not get when it is within the state. When you're doing the transaction within the state, only 50% of the total rate will go to CGST, 50% of the total rate will go to SGST. So central is getting 14% and state will be getting 14%. But suppose if entertainment services I'm providing from Belgaum to, suppose if I'm conducting some amusement park or if I'm conducting certain exhibition outside Belgaum, maybe in Maharashtra, so it becomes interstate. So for that, I'm going to charge 28%. Only IGST, 28%. So IGST comes into picture only when it is interstate. So in the bill, what I prepare, I'm not going to write CGST, SGST. I will write only one tax, that is IGST, 28%. So remember, students, whatever is the total tax rate, if it is interstate, it will be charged 100%. But if it is within state, it will be charged 50%. That is 50% to CGST and 50% to SGST. So have you all understood this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Padmaja?
Yes, ma'am.
In detail again, I will be explaining in the second module, but just remember, like I think in my yesterday's lecture, I've explained you all that if the sale is taking place within the state, what are the two taxes that is going to be charged by the supplier? It is going to be SGST and CGST. And what is the rate applicable? Whatever is the total rate, 50% will go to CGST, 50% will go to SGST. Similarly, when it is interstate transaction, complete 100% of that rate will be charged in the bill. I will just charge IGST in the bill if it is interstate transaction. So here you all can even see goods, like we take motor vehicle. If I take only vehicle, So see here, students. So there are different types of vehicles. Okay. So the rate, if I'm selling that vehicle outside the state, from one state to another state, I'm going to charge complete 5%. But if it is within the state, I'm going to charge 2.5% under CGST, 2.5% under SGST. That means center will get only 2.5% and the state government will get 2.5%. Whereas if it is interstate, entire 5% goes to the central government. Clear? Yes, students? Okay. Any other doubt, or can I ask you all questions?